Tonight at 6, fresh warnings about swimming in open water as another child dies. 12-year-old Junior Slater is named as one of 7 young people to lose their lives since the heat wave began at the weekend. Meanwhile, the extreme heat is causing disruption to water supplies in parts of Kent and Sussex.
Also this hour, a plea from the London Ambulance Service to only call 999 in life-threatening emergencies after dealing with its busiest day since the COVID pandemic. A plea from London Ambulance to only call 999 in life-threatening emergencies after their busiest day since the pandemic.
Over the weekend, we saw at least 7,000 calls every day over the weekend. Actually, yesterday, we saw just over 8,000 calls, which was one of our busiest days since the COVID pandemic.
With the most vulnerable at risk from the heat, I'm with volunteers here in East London handing out water and supplies for the homeless.
Hello, thanks for joining us on another hot day in the capital coming up.
27 degrees.
The bus drivers sweltering in overheating cabs. Some of them fear being disciplined if they refuse to drive them. With temperatures climbing again tomorrow, the ambulance service said it's had its busiest day since the pandemic.
With the hot weather continuing this month and likely over the summer too, people are urged not to put their lives at risk by cooling off in open water. Lauren Moss, BBC News, Knutsford.
Meanwhile, several areas in Kent and Sussex are experiencing water supply disruptions because of the heat wave. South East Water says areas impacted include Whitstable, Ashford and Crowborough. The companies say they're sorry for the disruptions and explained that these outages are due to increased demand following the hot weather. Well, Simon Jones has been following the story. So what actually is happening there?
Well, the number one job of any water company is to provide water to customers, and South East Water are failing to do this for many customers for a 5th day in a row, and bottled water stations have been opened up, particularly in East Kent. Now, people have been turning on their taps, finding no water or low water pressure. The company had already pleaded to all customers to only use water if it's absolutely vital for drinking, for washing, for cooking. Today, though, it's gone even further. It says reservoir levels are critical in the Whitstable and Herne Bay area. So it's saying to people, if you do still have supplies there, perhaps stockpile some because your water may go off later. Now, this company has been beset with problems. Earlier this month, the chief exec and chair both resigned. You'll remember around Christmas, tens of thousands of properties in the Tunbridge Wells area were left without water. The company today has refused to say just how many people are affected by these latest incidents, but customers are not impressed. They're saying you can't provide water when it's cold in the winter, it gets hot, and now you can't provide water then either.
Simon Jones, thank you. Well, how much longer is the heat wave across large parts of Britain set to last? Dan Johnson is at a lake in Somerset. Dan.
Yes, a beautiful sunny evening here. This is Chew Valley Sailing Club. This is one of the ways to enjoy the water responsibly. It's racing night, a busy night for them here. It's been a lot cooler today, but still records have been falling. Last night, the May nighttime temperature record was broken again. It was 21.4 degrees in Camborne in Cornwall, but it's not the same across the country. In the same night, it was just 1 degree in the Scottish Highlands. It's been so much cooler today on the east coast. It was 10 degrees down on the high of yesterday, but the temperatures are set to increase again through Thursday and Friday, possibly up to 30 degrees. It's been such a busy time. That risk of swimming remains. The warnings are out there that people shouldn't be taking to the water, and we're warned that the wind and rain may return next week. It's a blustery evening here, but perhaps perfect conditions for sailing. It's been a busy time for the emergency services dealing with all the different aspects of this heat. There's also the thunderstorm warning with so much heat and energy in the atmosphere. The ambulance service here in the southwest says it's experienced its busiest 24 hours on record.
Now, the dreadful danger of swimming in open water has been starkly and tragically revealed in the half-term bank holiday heat wave. 7 children and 2 adults died in separate open water incidents as temperatures reached record highs across the UK. Well, these are the locations across the country, from Yorkshire and Lancashire down to Cornwall, where people, predominantly youngsters in their teens, lost their lives while swimming. Ben Chapman reports.
Junior Slater, Recco Puttock, Declan Sawyer. Just 3 of the 9 people, 7 of them children, to have died in open water since the hot bank holiday weekend. 12-year-old Junior had got into difficulties while swimming in the River Ribble in Lancashire yesterday afternoon. His family said, "Our little blue-eyed boy, he will be truly missed. He was the life and soul of our lives. Words can't describe how we're feeling right now. We will forever love you, Junior." It follows the discovery of 13-year-old Recco Puttock's body at a dam near Halifax. His school said he was popular and well loved, while his rugby league club said there are no words we can say which will make this loss any less painful for his family and friends, especially at such a young age. At Pickmere Lake in Cheshire, where a 17-year-old's body was pulled from the water last night, people who live close by, like Sarah, never swim in it. And there are signs telling people not to.
In this heat, it's warm on the top, but underneath it's cold. It's the cold currents that come up, and it's that gets you. It's the cold water shock, you know, especially if people are jumping in.
Even before the tragedies this week, deaths in open water were on the rise. New figures from the National Water Safety Forum show that 202 people died in accidents last year, and most, 57%, occurred not at the coast but inland in rivers, reservoirs, lakes, canals and quarries. At this swim school in Lincoln, children are being taught survival skills. They're in the water, fully clothed.
Float on your back!
Learning a simple, potentially life-saving piece of advice if they ever find themselves struggling.
The first thing you need to do is float on your back. We call it float to save lives. We float, we make our body as large as we can by making a star shape. We put our head back and tilt up, and we relax and stay still.
But perhaps the most important advice this hot half-term is for parents to talk to their children about the dangers of cooling off in unsafe, unsupervised waters, however inviting they seem. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Cheshire.
A very warm welcome. Good to have you with us this evening. Now, it may feel slightly cooler today, but an amber heat health alert remains in place with temperatures rising again tomorrow. What does that actually mean? Well, increased health risk for all of us, pressure on the NHS and travel disruption likely. The London Ambulance Service is urging people to only call 999 in life-threatening emergencies. Yesterday, it saw its busiest day since the peak of the COVID pandemic. Meanwhile, some churches and other venues have been opening their doors to provide some respite from the hot weather. Layla Hayes has more.
Emergency ambulance, is the patient breathing?
Here at the London Ambulance Service, the heat wave means the calls just keep on coming.
So we've seen a real increase over the last few days in calls relating to difficulty breathing. We know that people with breathing problems, generally speaking, will be worse sometimes in hot weather. So we definitely see an increased number of calls in London from older people who are more at risk, and also really young people, so babies and children who aren't able to regulate their temperature quite as well as the rest of us.
They're now urging people to only call 999 for life-threatening emergencies.
Staff here typically receive around 5,500 calls a day, but yesterday they received more than 8,000. And between 2 o'clock and midnight, it was their busiest day on record.
Today was slightly cooler, but the heat wave is continuing to cause issues. At this M&S in Woolwich, the fridges stopped working. And one restaurant in the city had to stop walk-ins after the temperature reached almost 38 degrees. One place you can cool down is in the capital's churches.
The temperature never gets as hot as it is outside. So people have been coming in here, we've been making them feel welcome. They can just come in here, sit down, they can rest their hot and weary feet. And at the back of the church, we've got jugs of cold water so they can fill up their water bottles. And it's really just about creating a sanctuary of coolness and peace for them, just so they can rest for a little while.
For many, it's a blessing to get out of the heat.
It was 90s back home when we left, and we thought this was going to be kind of a relief to come to England, and instead we brought it with us. So it's kind of nice to find a cool spot.
We're out exploring London for half term with Molly, but also it's a beautiful place to come and cool down a little bit.
In Hampstead, most seemed happy. The temperature had cooled a bit.
It's all right today, but the last couple of days before that was just dreadful. My wife and I couldn't sleep, sit and wake up in the morning on the sort of sheets of damp.
People were out in the sun yesterday and saying it's not even fun anymore. It feels like you've just gotten off a plane in a sunny country.
The weather is phenomenal. Like, especially I've been in London now for a year. This is maybe the best day.
You either love it or you hate it, but the heat isn't going anywhere, with temperatures rising again tomorrow. Layla Hayes, BBC London.
Well, as we saw there, some people clearly enjoying this weather, but for others, coping with the continuing heat can really be a struggle, particularly for some of London's most vulnerable people. Rough sleepers and those experiencing homelessness can face the dangers of extreme heat due to a lack of hydration and shade. Well, Alice Bandukavi is with charity workers offering support on the streets of East London. Hi there, Alice.
Hi there, Riz. That's right. We're in Old Street where they are having the Wednesday outreach programme. They've got some hot food and they've got a food bank, volunteers here. It's all part of the efforts of a charity called The Little Things, of which Tilly is the founder. Tilly, you are here come rain, come shine, all weathers. Yes. Clearly at the moment it's come shine. What are the difficulties for your service users?
So when the weather's like this, you've got people suffering with dehydration, sunburn, sunstroke. I think when people think of homelessness, they just think about the cold weather, where in actual fact the hot weather can be just as brutal. So we've got lots of water here today, ice lollies, make sure people are drinking lots of fluid and that they're trying to be a little bit healthy.
And how many people do you help?
On average, we probably help 150 people a week between here and our other outreach on a Thursday in Enfield. So in total, probably about 150 people.
Amazing. Thank you for talking to us. Well, we can speak now to Paul, who's come here to get some water, some food. What's it like? You have had experience of being homeless. You're not homeless now.
No. I used to be homeless for about 6 years and eventually managed to get referred into a place. I'm in Enfield now, North London, and yeah, I've certainly got experience of being literally homeless.
And this is important, isn't it, for
it's
people
vital.
who've had this experience?
Yeah, it's vital. I mean, of course we all need food to eat, to need fuel, and everybody needs to eat. They need to get water and supplies. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us. Riz, back to you.
Alice, thanks very much. And the heat is impacting London's surrounding counties. In Surrey, warnings of wildfires. People visiting local beauty spots are advised to properly dispose of cigarettes and not use disposable barbecues. In Essex, after arrests at an unofficial beach party yesterday, police have a dispersal order in place until tomorrow morning in Southend-on-Sea. And South East Water is urging customers to swap paddling pools for water blasters to help preserve water supplies, which have been intermittent in the hot spell. Those and other local stories, just head to the BBC News app. Good evening. If you're finding London's buses hot this week, spare a thought for the drivers. For them, it's not just about comfort. The soaring temperatures are, they say, a safety problem. Some drivers have complained of their cabs reaching 40 degrees and being so hot they can't concentrate. And while some say they have the right to not take a bus out if their cooling system isn't working, others have contacted ITV News London to say they fear being disciplined or losing pay if they refuse to drive a particular vehicle. Kafo Patter has more.
Imagine working in a small confined box surrounded by glass panels, driving hours and hours across London in the blistering heat. That is the reality for some bus drivers in the capital, working in temperatures of over 40 degrees with no cooling.
The temperature in my cab the other day was 43 degrees. It doesn't lead to a good driver or passenger experience. I was furious for my entire shift. I felt sick.
Speaking anonymously with her voice changed, one London bus driver gave us a glimpse of her working conditions and the risk it poses to both her and her passengers.
Nobody takes it seriously and nobody does anything about it. It's just impossible to drive safely and drive in a composed way when you're this hot.
Yesterday in Walthamstow, gridlock on the roads. 4 buses left abandoned due to mechanical issues. 3 of them had broken air conditioners. We've also been told these aren't new problems. In fact, they've been flagged to the Mayor's office many years ago.
3 years ago that I first really took the Commissioner and the Mayor to task on this and said, when will we get AC in all the cabs, and how many of them that we have now have it fitted and working, and they just kind of brushed it off. And it just seems like all the way along, TfL have just treated air conditioning for bus drivers like some kind of luxury.
So we're on the top deck of the bus right now. The temperature is 35 degrees. 35 degrees. Absolutely sweltering. Imagine you're downstairs where the driver sits. It's going to be so hot. Now, TfL have said that they take the health and safety of their drivers very seriously. All driver cabs are fitted with an air cooling system. And if the system malfunctions, drivers can contact the operator and they will be supported. Armed with our temperature gun, we put all this to the test. How does a bus with a functioning cooling system compare to one without? It's 25 degrees.
Oh, Steve.
27. 27 degrees. 29 degrees. Is it too much? Okay.
Driving a London bus is like driving a greenhouse through London. They're surrounded by glass. Aircon doesn't always work, and air cooling systems don't really cool the air massively. They only drop temperature by about 6 degrees.
The heat is only going to get warmer as the summer progresses, and if the boiling bus issues aren't resolved soon, drivers will only get hotter.
So, Kath, what can drivers do if the cooling system isn't working in the cab and they're getting too hot?
Well, as you saw there in Walthamstow, they're under no obligation to drive a bus that's too hot. They can refuse, but many fear indirect consequence even to their pay. Now, TfL also have this hot weather plan saying that drivers can be provided with cold towels and cold water bottles should they need them. One driver we spoke to asked their manager for this, but she said the manager actually laughed in her face. The hot weather plan hadn't been communicated. As you know, the mayor's told us previously that he's going to look into this issue. Many a time we've asked him for an interview, many a time no answer. To this day, nothing.
OK, Kath, thank you. Well, with temperatures expected to climb again tomorrow, London Ambulance Service have warned that they're seeing a surge in call-outs. Yesterday was their busiest day since the height of the pandemic. Helen Keenan is at Hackney Marshes for us now. And Helen, how busy are we talking?
Well, look, the huge number of calls that London Ambulance Service received has actually prompted them to release a warning to remind people to only call 999 in case of an emergency. That's because yesterday was their busiest day since the COVID-19 pandemic. They had a record number of calls coming in between 2 p.m. and midnight. So let me just take you through what those numbers are exactly. So call handlers received more than 8,000 calls yesterday. Now, that's an increase of almost 40% compared to the same day last week. And on Monday, crews attended the highest number of patients out on the road since the start of 2026. Now, the UK Health Security Agency has said that an amber alert is going to remain in place in London until 5 p.m. tomorrow. And that means the service is concerned they could see a huge rise in numbers of calls yet again.
So lots of people with difficulty breathing problems, fainting and collapsing, those types of calls, which we absolutely see an increase of when the weather gets really hot like it is at the moment. We're definitely planning ahead for tomorrow, just in case we do see those really high call volumes again.
Now, in response to that demand, they have put in place extra measures. Now, these include increasing community response cars, more clinicians to talk to patients, and working with hospitals to ensure patients are handed over quickly. Now, they say this warning, look, it's not to deter people from having fun in the sun. Look, this is about being safe in the sun, looking after others so that they can respond to emergency situations.
OK, Helen, thank you for now. And extreme heat has an impact on all aspects of city life, from public transport, as we've seen, to housing, healthcare and infrastructure. 2 years ago, a big climate review for London was carried out. It was chaired by Emma Howard-Boyd, and I'm pleased to say that she joins me in the studio now. Emma, thanks for coming in. First of all, We're not just moaning here, are we? This is serious. The extreme heat is getting worse. It's going to keep getting worse and having a massive impact on us all.
Absolutely. We are just obliterating records at the moment. And the review was inspired by the 40-degree heat wave in 2022. But since then, we've seen these recurring heat waves and the impacts on Londoners through their home lives, through their work lives, and the things that we need to do to get better prepared.
Yeah, we've all been feeling it this week, haven't we, whether it's in our homes or on the tube or whatever. One of your recommendations was a heat plan for London. We understand that that's going to be coming out in the summer, can't be too soon. What are some of the really practical things that you want to see in that plan?
So I'm really looking forward to the plan being published. It was a key recommendation of mine. I think we have to wait for the details, but it's not just about the day-to-day things that we can do in London. It's about the long-term ways that we need to think about our built environment, how we retrofit our homes, how we make sure that our school children are being taught in cooler classrooms so that we can survive these ever increasing heat waves where the temperatures are just getting higher. So some very, very practical things that we can do backed by investment. And this is where the Mayor has to also negotiate with national government to ensure that he has both the powers and the funding to start implementing some of these things.
OK, so you have been working at a strategic level. For most of us, though, this comes back to one big thing, and that is air conditioning, or perhaps the lack of air conditioning. Many of our homes are just trapping heat, and I mean, mine yesterday was absolutely stifling. And then you think of those new build blocks that, quite frankly, they're unbearable, aren't they? I think really planning has been told to avoid air conditioning. Do you think we need to change our attitude on this?
I think there's a whole range of things that we can do in the design of our building, learning very much from other countries in Europe, whether it's putting in green infrastructure, whether it's putting in shading. There's a wonderful organisation, Shade the UK, that is putting out advice as to the simple things that you can put outside your house, awning, shade structures, to start that cooling process, to allow for air to flow through buildings. Air conditioning definitely has a role here, but we have to think about how everybody can participate in these cooling solutions. And with our air conditioning units come additional costs, but also back in the July 40-degree heat wave, some of our air conditioning units failed because they don't have the standards to operate at 40 degrees. We also have energy supply issues. So a whole mixture of solutions.
There's a whole raft of things, lots of solutions. Some of them old school, like the fan that I can see there.
Absolutely, and walking through green and shade.
Yeah. Emma Howard-Boyd, thank you very much indeed.